And three, two, we have a special treat for Jet fans. Joining us now are the four first-round picks from the historic 2000 draft. And I say historic because it's the only time in NFL history that a team used four first-round picks in the same draft. And this is quite extraordinary when you look at it. Check out some of these numbers. These four gentlemen combined for 49 years of NFL experience. They played 632 games combined. And perhaps more significantly, they made the playoffs in '01, '02, and '04. That is the only time in Jet history that they made the playoffs in 3 out of 4 years. And I think that speaks to, just how good this draft class was. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Lavertius Coles, who was a third round pick in the same draft, who had a great 10-year career and was certainly part of this draft class. But for tonight, we're going to go with these four guys, and I'll introduce them. We have Shaun Ellis, John Abraham, Chad Pennington, and Anthony Becht. Guys, I can't thank you enough for joining us. This is just so cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so let's just start with something fun here. So I just want to ask each of you guys to describe what your draft day experience was like. Were you surprised that you got picked by the Jets? Where were you when it happened? And we'll go in order of selection. So that would be Shaun Ellis. Shaun, you're up first because you were the 12th pick that year. Where were you, and what was it like to get drafted by the Jets?
Well, I was in Columbia, South Carolina with John Abraham. So we had our draft party kind of together because we had the same agent. Plus we kind of had familiarity with one another. And so that whole experience was great. Especially being able to go through that with someone that grow a close friendship with over time, brotherhood. So I mean, to be able to experience that with someone in the same shoes as you, was great. When I heard my name called at the 12th and then turn around, his name called right behind mine was like crazy. He was like, "I'm going there with you too." So we was like, "Man, we're going together." So that was a fun experience.
Actually, the night before the draft, the Jets traded up. They had the 16th pick. They traded up to 12 because I think Bill Parcells had his eye on you, Shaun, and he definitely wanted to get you. And then, as you mentioned, John Abraham right after you with the 13th pick. John, what was that like? You're sitting right next to one of your good friends, and you're going to the same team.
Man, honestly, I was happy. I was like going with Shaun, but I was mad because I wanted to go to San Francisco. I mean, I think we all had other teams we expected to go to, so I'm just being real. But it was like, the euphoria. I didn't have time to really get excited on Shaun's euphoria because I was still drunk off his. I was like happy with him. We was like, yes, yes. They were like, John, hold on. They get you at 13. I was like, hold on, what? I'm like, hold on, I'm still happy for Shaun. I'm like, hold on, I'll be right back. Went to the bathroom, cried a little bit, came back out, and act like everything was fine. They said, John, you guys, and I had to play it, but it was something like a storybook. Like in storybook, if you think about 12 and 13, I was watching Shaun since I was in high school. Even though I only played 1 year of high school football, there was two guys, Courtney Brown and Shaun Ellis. And I got to be in the draft with both of these guys. I mean, these are the guys who were getting Shaun had 900 sacks for his senior year. Courtney had Shaun had 49 sacks his senior year. Y'all can look it up. Shaun had 49 sacks. So for me, it was just an honor to be there, man. And like I said, the excitement was just crazy. Getting to meet Chad and Anthony. I didn't know a lot about Anthony, but I knew a lot about Chad just because of Randy and all that stuff. So I got to see a lot about Chad. And I think they beat us a couple of times. I don't know.
And FYI, Shaun Ellis and John Abraham combined for over 200 career sacks in the NFL. So that is quite impressive. Then at 18, the Jets, with their third first round pick, they take a highly touted quarterback from Marshall named Chad Pennington. Chad, what was it like? Were you at school? Were you at home? And what was the thought of going to the big city?
Well, we did our draft party at the lake because I grew up on Norris Lake, and so that was one of my favorite places to be, my happy place. So we had a big draft party in La Follette, Tennessee on the lake and rented a big houseboat and had a lot of family and friends there. I really didn't think I was going to be drafted by the Jets. I thought it was either going to be Pittsburgh or San Francisco. That was kind of the talk around the draft. But I do remember one of my private interviews and formal interviews was with the Jets. And so it was surprising, country boy from East Tennessee having to go to the Big Apple and learn that way of life. Certainly a shock, but at the same time, extremely happy as well.
With the, I think it was the 27th or 28th pick. I'm getting a little 27th pick. The Jets got that pick along with the pick that they took John in the Keyshawn Johnson trade. So that's where they got the two extra number ones. And they got the other one in compensation for the Bill Belichick trade when he went to New England. So they take the tight end out of West Virginia, who I think was probably hanging out in Philadelphia or near your home in Philadelphia. Anthony, fill us in on your draft day experience.
It was two unique things. Number one, I was in Philly. We had a big tent outside, one of them big box TVs. We had the hardwired telephone all the way into that area. And I think I'm the only first round pick ever, unless you guys, it happened to you. I didn't get a call. So when I was at that, I don't know who was going to take me. I just know Bill Parcells promised me he was drafting me in the first round. So I just was sitting there, and that 27th pick came up. I'm sitting there like, oh, everybody's like, oh, the phone's not ringing. Here comes Tagliabue walking up to the stage, and everybody I can hear behind me. Everybody's like, man, what's going on? He ain't getting drafted by the Jets, all this. So it was like the most depressing moment of my life when he went up to the stand. And he went up there. He's like, with the 27th pick, Jets select tight end Anthony Becht. Was like the biggest eruption ever because everybody was just like, and then bam, my phone rings, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And hey, how'd you like that? I was like, would have been nice to get a heads up, but it was definitely cool to have that excitement with my family. And just what Chad said on the other flip side, I thought I was going to be the third pick because I thought the Steelers were taking Chad. So either the Steelers or Chad owe me about $4 million. So we got to work that all out.
The crazy, so you guys were a part of a historic fraternity, the four of you guys just being, like I said, the only one in NFL history. Usually when a first round pick goes to a team, it's just one and you get so much attention and there's a lot of pressure that comes with it. I'm wondering with four of you guys, and we'll start with Chad on this one. Did that take some of the pressure off, because you knew there were three other first round picks and also by the same token, you didn't get as much attention as you probably would have gotten had you been the only first round pick. So what was it like joining with three other first round picks?
I think that time in your life, you've worked so hard, you've trained so hard. At that point, you're just trying to enjoy the opportunity that you got. And so that was really my mindset, is just enjoy being drafted, number one. And then two, actually to be able to go through it with three other guys, I thought was pretty cool because we were experiencing some of the similar things. Typically, you're the only draft pick in the first round, so you kind of feel like a lone man on an island. But for us, we were able to do a lot of different things together, photo shoots together, different things like that. And then from a pressure standpoint, I knew that I was being drafted to be the heir apparent and to come in and learn from a great veteran in Vinny Testaverde. And so I knew I had some time. So the pressure really wasn't there other than the pressure I put on myself to try to improve as quickly as I could.
Are you, John, coming in that situation with three others? What was that vibe like?
Man, it was competition. I mean, I had Shaun, 12 national champion guy. I had Chad. Everybody knew. I had Anthony. Everybody knew. I was on the 0-11 team. I was just like, and then for me, I wish we would have had Al Groh for my whole career. Simply because I would have been playing linebacker and Shaun could have did the DN thing. But I think when Herm came, it kind of became a competition between me and Shaun. So it was like, 12 against 13 every time. So we couldn't really enjoy it like we used to. Like it's like when we got there, because when we first got there, our rookie year, it was just like fun. It was just like fun. And when Herm came there, it was just like, shoot, we on the same line now, bro. Like you over here and I'm over here. Then they brought Brian Thomas in. It's like every year was just like another competition. And I think I was just talking about this yesterday. I think if all of us went to a separate team as a first round pick, not saying we still wouldn't have had a great career like we did, like everyone had. I think it'd been a lot easier for a lot of us because it was a lot of stress sometimes. You seeing Chad playing well, you seeing Shaun playing well, you see Becht playing well, and like I was hurt a lot. So, for me, it was like, I got to get back on the field. Like, I got to get back on the field and be with my guys. So it's a lot of stress out there, man, especially when you're like that guy,
When Al Groh he was playing a 3-4, so you were the outside linebacker, and then Herm brought in the 4-3, and things changed up a little bit. I want to ask Shaun. Shaun, You probably had the best rookie year out of the group because you came in, you had 8.5 sacks as a rookie, which is outstanding. Even for a veteran, that would be great. And you had 8.5 as a rookie. What was your rookie year like? The guy, I think you guys went 9-7 that year and you just missed the playoffs. Did you feel comfortable right away when you first got in there?
Oh no, I did not. I mean, for me, getting drafted, and then being introduced to the 3-4 was like crazy to me. So I never really played that position. That style of defense before. Other than maybe some third down in college, we may slide down and hit the gaps. But the traditional two gap, I mean, it was very like challenging for me. And like every day after practice, I had to stay with Al Groh and work on that technique and all that because I saw myself as a attack defensive end, right? I want to get upfield, hit the gaps, penetrate, and to play that 3-4, just to sit there and have to catch and read and not be as aggressive, have to fit the puzzle, that was very challenging to me. I struggled. So I think for the most part, what helped me out was my ability to pass rush from inside and outside. So I forgot who was the defense coordinator at the time.
Mike Nolan.
Mike Nolan.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
Mike
Mike Nolan.
Nolan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Mike Nolan. Mike Nolan, he knew my struggles with that, so he was like moving me around a lot. At the time he moved me and Abraham around a lot. Then Abe, he suffered his injury, and then I would start moving, inside tackling in around. So that kind of helped, make it fun. But the traditional 3-4 style, I hated it. I hated it. But I think in the end, going through that process, I think it helped my longevity throughout the years. Being able to play multiple positions. As like with Rex, I ended up start playing over the nose more. And those type things like that. So it definitely was a challenging year. It wasn't easy by far.
Let me throw this one out to the group, whoever wants to answer it. Did you guys know, like when you got there in 2000 as a group of four, did you know that this was going to be something special for the team? Could you see the playoffs coming the following year? Anybody wants, because you guys made it in '01, '02, and then '04. And I'm just wondering, could you see the over the horizon things getting better for the Jets? Anthony, how
Well,
about you want to wants to
well, I
try
know
that one?
personally, I did. I wish we could have stayed together our whole careers. Honestly, I think me and Chad are a little different because we had injuries that kind of took us away from being the Jets for our life. I think the injuries I had an injury he suffered. They kind of like well, we might have to move on from Abraham, even though he had 50 some sacks in 6 years, which is really damn good if you think about it. And he missed like a few games, but it was just like having to leave there was tough for me because playing in high school, you play for the same team. Playing in college, you play for the same team. And then you're being a first-round pick, and then you just don't feel that love anymore, coming in the locker room and feel like everyone looking at you differently. But when I got there, I was just like, man, these guys, we're going to be four guys, and always going to be four Hall of Famers. I mean, I'm a kid. Think like we got four great guys, and I didn't see anything bad like with none of us. And then sports.
You did have 13 sacks, and you made All Pro in your second year, so that was a hell of a year for you, John. I want to ask Chad a question. So obviously, Jet fans know that Vinny was the starter in all the way up until '02, early in '02. So you sat basically for 2+ years. What was that like in retrospect? Do you think that was the best thing for you, or do you wish you had gotten in there sooner?
No, I always think it's the best thing for quarterbacks to be able to sit back, learn, make mistakes behind closed doors. That's the biggest positive to that. I could make my mistakes and nobody knew about it because it wasn't on Sundays, and especially from a quarterback standpoint, because there's so much to learn about the position, so much to learn about how to be a professional. I thought my second year was actually tougher than my first, and the reason that it was is that your rookie year, you're just flying by the seat of your pants, and you're basically working off that adrenaline and energy from your senior year in college, and you're just kind of relying on your instincts. Once you go into that first true off season as a pro, things change because you're not going to class anymore. You've got to develop your own professional schedule. You got to make sure you train the right amount, but you don't overtrain. Like there's all kinds of things going on. And then on top of that, we had a coaching change. And so all of us had to get used to the new coaching change as well. So the second year was tougher for me than the first year. And then by the third year, that's when I really felt like, although I was the backup, the light bulb really came on. And I felt like, okay, whenever my number's called, I am now ready for this. And we always think we're ready, but at the same time, we really know deep down inside of when we're really ready to take on that challenge. We're never going to admit when that is, but that third year, I was ready to take on that challenge when my number was called.
I remember when you came in 02, and I think you lost the first game, but then after that, it was right to the playoffs. Anthony, what was that like being part of that offense? I just remember, it was such a good, I mean, of course, Curtis Martin, Kevin Mawai, I mean, a couple of Hall of Famers. What was it like in 02 when things really started clicking, when Chad got in there and you guys just took off?
It was great. I remember, in '02 they drafted Chris Baker. So, a new staff, it's like they're always trying to get the guy to try to replace you. So there was always that feeling of like I had to continue to prove myself and push through every single year. But that year for sure, I think I really started off really well. I think I had like almost 20 catches in the first 5 games, and I think they just shut it off and told Chad, quit throwing it to Beck. We got to get it over to Laverne or something like that. Some internal thing to like, there's no way we can have Beck lead the team in receptions. But, I loved it. I loved blocking for Curtis Martin. That was when I started to kind of figure out I was a good blocker in college, but, when you're in the NFL, man, it's a different ball game. I was going against dudes like Abe, Mo Lewis, Big Cat. These are like hitting stones. You know what I mean? So you just had to get yourself, your mind right, technique, and all those things. And when I started to figure it out, that's Curtis was running all over the place. Really proud that I was a part of those 7,500 yards of his 14,000 in his career. So took a lot of pride because I knew he played hurt a lot. He's always in the training room. He just played through everything. I don't know how he played some of the times when I would see some of the things he had, but if he was out there, you felt like you wanted to lay it on the line for the guys. So, we were just clicking and it was fun. I mean, like John said, like you just think like we're going to be together forever. Like, how can we break this up? Like, this we can grow and be one of the more historic teams, and make those runs year after year after year. But, it's a business, things change. But, '02 was great. It was fun and we were winning. And, when you're like, the talk of the town, it's even more enjoyable.
When you guys look back at your time with the Jets, now you all played, I think at least 5 years. Some of you stayed longer. Shaun, you were with the Jets for the longest, I think, out of the group. When you look back, we'll start with Shaun. What are a couple of the highlights, like the highlight moments of your time with the Jets?
Well, the Monday Night Miracle, that's one. But I think a lot of people fail to forget that we had another one that same year against New England, where we came back on them. That I think, if I'm correct, So that was one. What else? The Green Bay, when we played Green Bay at home to get into the playoffs.
Right.
When they showed with the missed field goal during the game, and then we just went crazy after that.
It was nuts. That was they were showing the end of the New England Miami game, I think, and then all you guys had to do was to beat Green Bay, and it was like forget it. The game was over at that point. It was like you steamrolled them. How about you, John? What are some of your? Oh, you got more? You got more, Shaun?
Well, I was saying, then coming in, we played New England first game, home game. Now that was crazy to have a home game, playoff game against the Colts at home. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah. That was that the 41-0 game? I think that was the
41-0 game.
Yeah, not a good moment for Peyton Manning that day, that's for sure. The defense played great. Do you remember that, John? Like, just that defense was really a good defense too. With you two guys up front, you had Mo Lewis, Marvin Jones. I mean, what was that like playing on that defense?
I thought we could have had something special. I don't think I had the greatest coach. I mean, and I ain't trying to knock anybody, but when we got old boy in there, it was just like, I don't know what's going on. Big Reuben Carter, I don't know what he was doing. And it was just like, you can ask Shaun, man. We used to be in there. He used to always try to be so rough and tough. I'm a finesse guy, man. You got to understand what you got in your room. Like Shaun, the big strong guy, you got to go down the middle of him. I'm like, dude, I'm like 245, 6'3". I'm like, I'm gonna shake somebody. I'm gonna do a little wiggle, wiggle. I'm gonna do my little thing. But you trying to and wonder why I keep getting hurt. You want me to take on double teams every week. So for me, the games were kind of tougher in my mind mentally. Because mentally, I knew like this guy can't coach me. Then I came to Atlanta and I got Ray Hamilton again, which I had my rookie year. I was like so happy. I mean, like, dude, Ray was like, just do what you do, man. You different from all these other cats in here. These rookies over here trying to say why they can't do this and why you can do this. When you get 100 sacks, you talk to me. When you do this, you talk to me. Like, besides that, leave me alone. So the games, I think one of my favorite games was my second year though. When we played the Saints, I had like 4 sacks or something like that. But all the other games seemed like they just combined. I used to be so frustrated on the field because I knew I wasn't playing like I was supposed to. I was put in positions that I felt like, if you just let me go, and this is a personal thing. I'm not trying to knock anybody, but anybody as a player, Chad knows how this feels, Anthony knows how this feels, Shaun knows how it feels. Like when you're in a predicament, you want to play well, but you're not like I don't feel comfortable. I can't talk to my coach. I can't do this. I can't do that. So it's a tough situation. But coming to Atlanta was like just so much freeing because they saw the talent that I had, and they kind of like, we're going to rest you. You don't need to practice every day. We're not going to sit here and try to get you to go game speed every day. So it's a big difference, though.
Dad, when I think of you, I envision that playoff win over the Chargers and the touchdown. I think it was about 50 yards to Santana. It was just, to this day, one of the prettiest passes I've ever seen. I know you threw it with a torn rotator cuff, which made it even all the more remarkable. What are some of was that a highlight for you? What are some of the more satisfying moments during your Jet time?
Yeah, I think the most satisfying moment was those 2 weeks that we had that Shaun alluded to with the win over Green Bay and then the first round playoff victory over Indianapolis. That, to me, the city, Gangrene Nation, all of it was just electric. And you could just feel the energy, the enthusiasm. And we'd come through a lot as a team. We started off 1-4, went to 2-5, and then we got to 9-7 to win the division. But those 2 weeks I'll never forget from an energy standpoint, and just very proud to be a part of, number one, making the NFL history, because we were the first team to make the playoffs starting off 2-5. And that's when they were saying, Jets, stood for just in the season. And then to be able to cap it off with that first round playoff victory over the Colts, that was really sweet. And then, the playoff victory over San Diego was, personally for me, was gratifying because, my shoulder was, I was hanging on by literally a thread. With no rotator cuff and using a lot of good medicine to get through that. And so to be able to, help lead us to victory over a team that, was really hot at the time and no one thought we could beat, that was pretty sweet as well.
You mentioned because you guys went to San Diego, you were 2-5 and you got off to that bad start. That was the week of the famous "you play to win the game" speech. Anthony, you guys remember? I know that was a huge thing in the media, but did that resonate with the players at all? It became famous years later. It became a beer commercial, actually. But did it resonate with the players at all?
I don't think it resonated with me till it became a meme in like 2020 because there was no Twitter or anything back then, so you really didn't even hear it or see it. We weren't in that meeting. Nobody's watching the sports, the 10 o'clock news to see let's see if I made TV. So it was like you heard about it, and we weren't reading the paper or anything like that. But that's become kind of like the folklore meme that comes around every couple years. But I just think Herm was always good at his little cliches and different things that he said. And for me, my memory was 04. I knew that was going to be my last season with the Jets. I kind of felt that the tide was turning for me, and I needed a change. And to catch a touchdown in that San Diego game, I really felt like we were the hot team in the NFL. And I just remember lining up for that first attempt and that field goal of the Steelers, and Joey Porter, who, I was in his butt the whole entire game. He's like, "Man, y'all kicked our butts today." And then we kicked it, right or left. And he's like, "You let it go," and he's like, "We got the," so I just knew right there, man, we just let that thing slip away. So that's probably the most, the high, but always one of the hurtful times in our career, because, man, I felt like we could have, sky was the limit that year, but I just felt like we were clicking at that point and we were dangerous.
Asked about that since you brought up the Pittsburgh game. I asked you about the highlight. I was going to ask you about some of the disappointments, and I guess would that be it, guys? That Pittsburgh loss. I mean, How about for you, Shaun? Was that losing to the Steelers in that, kind of heartbreaking fashion at the end?
Yeah, it was. It was. That one. I mean, even though I played in the two AFC Championship games back to back, that game, Pittsburgh game, was like probably the toughest one to swallow. You know, just the hoopla that we had that week, and just the stigma around Pittsburgh, and to go up in Pittsburgh and pretty much like dominate that game with the running backs they had, with the quarterbacks, receivers. It was just a smash mouth football game, and I thought our offense did exceptionally well, but we just came up short, with the kick, and it was definitely tough, just hearing. Just going into the locker room, just feeling the environment, just seeing the players, how defeated we were. It was just something you never can get out your mind. And also losing the Chad when he went to the Dolphins.
Yeah, I was gonna. So yeah, that was '08, of course, and yeah, Chad came back, had a great year with the Dolphins after
Yeah,
being released by the Jets. How sweet was that, Chad, to come back and make the playoffs? I think you won Comeback Player of the Year that year
yeah,
for the first time. I think you won it twice, and to do it in MetLife Stadium. I know that I think there were a lot of Jet fans who probably were cheering for you that day, even though you were playing for the other team.
Yeah, it was unique. When we played the first game of the year, I had no business playing quarterback. I was so emotional. I should have lined up at linebacker. But by the end of the year, it was just strictly about business and trying to win the division. And I'll tell you, the Jet fans were amazing. They really were. Very gracious, very supportive. I think they were kind of torn. But it was a unique experience and something that I'll never forget. It was and really playing against your old teammates. That's really hard to do because you've done so much together for a long period of time, and all of a sudden now they're the enemy, which is really weird. But I just felt like that whole year was something that was special that I was able to go through and really kind of redeem myself a little bit after dealing with a bunch of different injuries and things that were kind of out of my control. If I had one regret, I feel like trying to come back too early off the first shoulder surgery would be my one regret. I feel like that's so hard as an athlete because you're trying to be available, you're trying to beat the timelines, you're competitive, but when you take a step back and look at it, you're like, you know what, you should have taken some more time to truly get healthy for the '05 season. And so when I look at that's the only regret I ever have about my career is taking more time on that first injury because I don't think the second injury would have happened if I'd taken more time on the first one.
Hey, Rich,
Interesting.
I got a funny one. I hope John remembers this, but when I went to Tampa in 2005, we came back to New York and played the Jets. I had so much venom and just fire to come back and I just was trying to wreck anybody I could. The first play, I'm on the left, I line up on the left side. Abe's over me. And it wasn't just Abe. It was just, I just wanted to wreck everybody on the field. I came off so freaking hard against Abe. And Abe was like, God damn it. He's like, calm the hell down. You're going to be all right. I was just going crazy when we went against him again. I was just so much venom, but it is tough when you go against, like John was saying, we had a lot of love during that time. And, you thinking you're going to be there forever and you're not, and it's like, I had to get some of that venom out of me when I came back, but it was good times, man. It was always great to be, back in New York and see them again.
yeah.
Like, I
Definitely.
mean, 25 years since you guys were drafted. It's hard to believe. Maybe what's it like being together? I mean, obviously, you guys are in different parts of the country now. You don't get a chance to get together that often, but we're here tonight. And I'm just wondering, like, I don't know if fans truly appreciate like the brotherhood and some of the bonds that are formed when teammates play together for a while. Maybe, John, you could talk about what's it like just looking up and seeing your three former teammates here and being together with these guys.
I mean, it's a lot of envy. It's a lot of envy because seeing Shaun becoming a family man, seeing him with his kids, seeing Chad working so hard in the NFLPA, making sure that these guys. I ran into Chad at the combine. And it was just like, dude, he's been doing this for years. And seeing Becht being a coach and everything, and it's like I'm just sitting at home trying to get my head straight. So it's amazing just to see these four guys and all of us achieve so much in life besides football. Like when I watch these guys, it's just like even seeing AG being the head coach now, it's just like the realm of what, I started from to where it is now is amazing. I'm proud of all these guys. Like every time, if I don't even got to speak about football, just to stay in the same category of Anthony Becht or Chad Pennington or Shaun Ellis, I'm happy just that for them as men, especially the family men that they've become, and just watch them. Just watch these guys and watch how you hear about Chad's son. I see Sean's son dunking all the time. And I'm like, so it's just a beautiful thing for me just to see that stuff like that. And, me and Sean are pretty much like family. His mom called me all the time, his sisters and brothers, and everybody be hitting me up. So it's like we're literally family. So it is what it is.
It makes me feel old. I saw a story in the newspaper on Long Island about Sean's son being a basketball player here on Long Island. I see Chad's sons are playing college football. Anthony's son is the starting quarterback at Iowa State, having a great career there. So makes me feel really old. Shaun, how about you? Just seeing these guys all together. What's it like being back with these guys?
I mean, it's it's great. It's great. A lot of memories. Not so much football. Like what's going through my head now is like how we used to be in the dorm, playing golf. We put the trash kids down, play golf, just being silly, just running around, not having a care in the world. We just got finished practicing hard. We get back to the dorms and we just run around the dorms looking crazy, doing that. And then also, another time that sticks out, I guess they was talking about somebody had got shot or something right there. So that was like an eye opener when we first came to New York. Right there, I think it happened right outside the dorms at the time.
Wait, what are you talking about? This is somebody.
Yeah. So somebody. Did the person die or he just get shot? What was it?
I hope not. I don't know.
I can't remember. Yeah. I remember the shooting part though. I remember the shooting.
This was at Hofstra somewhere.
Yeah, you remember that, Chad?
Wasn't it about a sandwich place? They had to get sandwiches when we were rookies.
Yeah, right there across the street from Avenue D's. You remember they moved us into that dorm?
Oh yeah. Okay, that's right.
Then they moved us out and put us on campus at Hofstra.
Now that's something that's different. I remember, these guys nowadays with training camp, it's so much lighter. I mean, I remember when Algro, we were all rookies, and he pulls the team up and he said, "Listen, if you're looking for light at the end of the tunnel, there's not any. Stop looking." And we were in the dorms for 7 weeks. We were in the dorms at the Netherlands at Hofstra. Yep. And it was straight 2 a days, sometimes 3 a days. I mean, that was the real deal, Holyfield there as far as true training camp. And I think to your point, Rich, what's unique about our game is that, a lot of us haven't seen each other, may not even talked to each other in years, but it's like we saw each other yesterday. Yeah. And we can just pick up right where we left off or just start talking, although we may have not seen each other, talk to each other in a while. And I think that's something that's unique about the game of football. And that locker room, for me and for all of us, is such a safe haven and a safe place. And I love it because it's probably the most politically incorrect place in the world, but it's where real life questions and hardcore answers and questions get solved and great conversations. And that's what I think all of us miss, is that brotherhood, that camaraderie, that connection that we have, because we are all in there for one common purpose and one common goal. And you put everything else aside and you're in there for that one common purpose, one common goal. And that's what you always remember about the game.
Right. Yeah.
I'll ask Anthony this question. Having the benefit of hindsight and looking back on what you four guys accomplished and what you meant for the franchise, how pivotal do you think this draft was? And let's include Lavernius in that too. How pivotal do you think you five guys were in terms of shifting the trajectory of the franchise?
Yeah, I mean, you got 5 starters in a draft. That's crazy. I mean, you said 49 years, you throw Lavernius in at 62 or something like that. So, it's just, I'm just, incredibly grateful. I mean, to be a part of history. I think all kinds of Jet fans, regardless of the error, they may say it was the 77 or whatever that Klecko draft was, and I just think, to strike in the 2000s to get guys, and I had a great draft with Brees and Garrett and in that class, but, to get 5 guys, like, Bill did a hell of a job, locating, talent, but really just good dudes, guys that quite frankly knew how to work, knew how to practice, did their job at a high level. there wasn't a lot of teaching in that thing, in that department. I think we all came from places where we kind of knew what the expectation levels were. And, we didn't need a veteran, I mean, from a standpoint, getting thrown in a fire early on, to kind of lift you up. Like, you worked through it, you found your way, like Chad said, 7 weeks in a dorm, training camp. Like, we didn't know any better. We just did it. But the veterans were like, this is crazy nuts. But we just lined up and showed up. And I was afraid to get hurt. You go in the training room and Parcells be walking around, you'd be scared to death. Just
You don't want to go in the training room.
100%. Just and I'd had Mo Lewis would have all them pills in his bag, and I'd be like, I'm never taking those pills. And then I had my own bag 2 years later.
Yeah, I'm never taking a shot.
Exactly.
What John mentioned AG before, so I got to ask you guys. You guys played with him for a couple of years. You were his teammate for 2 years, 2000, 2001. He's now the head coach of your old team. We'll start with the defensive guys. John, what's it like seeing AG as the head coach of the Jets? And did you see him back then as a future head coach?
Like I said, I just see it as envious. And I wouldn't say jealousy. I just see it as envious. Like all these guys even you, Rich, I knew where you came from. So you think about this 25 years different than 25 years of success. This is not just like watching guys and saying like, oh man, you remember him? Now we're looking at each other like, oh, look at Abe, or oh, look at Shaun, look at him. So when I seen AG, it was just like, wow, that's amazing. Like that, like just to want to experience that feeling that I know he has. Like walking back into that locker room, and this ain't no locker room now. They got luxury. So walking back into this luxurious place compared to being at Hofstra, walking into Jersey, you got a limo picking you up and dropping you out this beautiful mansion. I mean, dude, I couldn't even imagine it. Like just walking in there saying, I run this compared to running that thing in Hofstra, man, I'd have been happy as hell. I was like, what? I said, I know AG is just like, this can't be true. So just that aura, and anybody know AG, he's always was a businessman. He always did everything correctly. Like he would be trying to sell phones, he was trying to sell trips and everything in the locker room. So he always had a grind. So I know he's gonna have these players different, man. Like I just hope they give him the time to build his team. When Todd Bowles was there, I was like, dang, I wanted Todd to be there. I wanted Todd because Todd was there coaching when I was there. So I love Todd Bowles, and hopefully AG just get the time to create the team that he wants.
You, Shaun, do you think he can be the guy to get this thing turned around?
I think so. I think he can. My memories of AG was, coming in the locker room, always seeing him smiling, laughing, joking, playing. But when it came to the meet rooms and stuff, he was on his stuff. He knew exactly what to do. He's very smart when it comes to the football. The coverages and all that stuff. So, I mean, seeing him doing this, I'm not surprised. But like John said, I just hope they give him the time to really make a difference and turn it around.
Let's just ask the offensive guys before we wrap up. How do you think AG is going to do? And could you have envisioned him, knowing him back in the day, that he'd be in this spot someday?
I'll let the head coach go last. I'm really excited for him, and my experience with him for 2 years. First of all, his competitive will was unbelievable from a defensive back standpoint. And then being on the other side of the ball, he was one of the defensive veterans that I did watch as far as how to be a true professional. And Shaun's right. When it came to ball, he approached it almost like a coach. And so a lot of times I'd get in conversations with him to learn more of the defensive side of things. So what he has accomplished to date does not surprise me at all where he is. I'm just really excited to watch him go and do it his way. Because he will have his way. Like with AG, he's going to do it a certain way and in a way that he believes in. And I think that's what is one of his strong points. That's what made him a great defensive back. I mean, he had a certain way of doing things. He approached it a certain way, and he was a true professional in that way. And so it doesn't surprise me that's now, correlates to him being a coach as well.
Let's get the head coach perspective here, Anthony. Of course, as Jet fans know, Anthony is the head coach of the St. Louis Battlehawks, who's got a very busy schedule and took some time out to talk to us. How about AG? What do you think, Anthony?
Yeah, as a player, being on the other side, I think the one thing that I notice about him is, just like his competitive fire. I mean, whether it was just he was a smaller corner or, he always played bigger than his size. And, he's a playmaker, man, but he competed every single day. And I got to know more AG after football. And I just think, he's paid his dues, as a scout, as a coach. He's been around some really good organizations and coaches and people around him that he surrounded himself to help him get to this point. And just watching what he did in Detroit, he's been around a rebuild. He's been around a winner, a perennial winner, and he's a leader of men. And I think one thing that's nice, and for me even is, when you got credibility in the room by the players, and it's not just, while I played in the NFL, like, you're learning and growing and you're helping guys, on and off the field. And like Chad said, he will do it his way. I've already noticed some differences. I'm sure you have, Rich, as well, as far as media and availability from different players and stuff like that. Like, it's a tight ship, and he's going to make sure that they weed out anything that shouldn't be around to keep it very tight inside, so that only the players and coaches uniformly come together for the single sole purpose of turning that organization around. So I'm excited to see it happen. I'll be there every single week throughout the season, and can't wait to see him. How he leads the team, leads the players, leads the fan base, and really leads the organization. And seeing how he turns this thing around from day one, it's going to be fun.
Yep.
All right, guys, this has been great. Anybody have any last parting words? If you guys want to, take some good-natured shots at each other, this is the time. This has been a thrill. Jet fans are going to love this. Like I said, a historic draft. They've been playing NFL football for 100 years. No team has ever had 4 first rounders except for this group right here. Shaun Ellis, John Abraham, Chad Pennington, Anthony Becht. Can't thank you guys enough. This has been incredible. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Rich.
you.